Moving on to the next item, the Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee, item 14, conversion of road lighting to light-emitting diodes. So, Pauline, would you like to introduce this item as chair of the committee?
I'll do that. So, actually, this is a. I'll just pull the page up. This is a project to bring forward the LED installation program, and there's many advantages of these, including reducing operational costs and reducing our carbon footprint, increasing efficiencies, and also bringing in a 24-hour centrally controlled system with smart city capabilities. Now, currently, the council has 39,500 council-owned street lights, and we do have an upgrade program, but currently we're only converting 1,000 a year. So in 2015, NZTA provided a whole list of benefits of converting to LED lighting, including the use of a central management system. But in March 2017, they further reinforced this by increasing the subsidy from 49% to 85%, covering the council's upgrades in financial years 2016, 17 and 18. So, and also included in the subsidy is the installation of a central management system. So that means you can actually dim the lights and bring various controlling features into the new lights. So this is a request to actually go ahead and install 4,000 in 2017 and 18 and 3,000 by the end of 2018, and to actually complete the rest of the program by, help me Dave, what was it, 2021 was it? That's subject to the LTP. So our committee was very supportive of this and thinks it's a bit of a no-brainer and quite an exciting thing to be doing for our city. Yeah.
Thank you. Any commentary from staff on this report?
Just in time.
Just about the report, yeah, I think it, what generated it was NZTA's increase in subsidy to 85%, and also the ability to claim work that's happened, claim additional subsidy from previous years. So effectively, the subsidy rate for this financial year is 102%. So it's fully covered and things like that. So it has significant environmental benefits with reduction in carbon, 1,500 tonnes if we complete the whole project, and reduces operational costs. So the work that's been done on the finances is that it's rates neutral, and it reduces maintenance costs as well. At some stage the lights will have to be replaced because the old technology will become unavailable or more expensive, so it's probably a timing of when. We've already had a couple of lamp types that have been removed from the being able to be supplied, so we've had to remove those from the network.
Great, thank you very much, and the report makes all of that very clear, so thank you for the additional comments. Are there any questions on the report? Yanni.
Thank you, just 3 questions. Just the financial impact in terms of the operational savings, where it talks about $1 million in terms of electricity, is that $1 million per year?
Yes.
Great, okay, cool. The second question is, we've previously had deputations around the idea that the city would look at a dark skies kind of concept from people like Margaret Austin. How is that being incorporated into the kind of strategy around putting these lights in place? And I guess just make reference to some of us have had complaints from some in the very early days around the lux levels and the brightness of some of the LED lights that were put in. Now I know that was a few years ago, but can you just kind of tell us a little bit about the strategy around the community impact and I guess the wider strategic sense in terms of dark skies stuff that we may have looked at previously? So
the just going back to the $1 million, that's when the complete network has changed over, so right. that relies on completing the whole project. With regard to the dark skies presented to council in 2014. and they recommended a colour temperature, which is how white the light looks. And here it's probably around 4,000 degrees Kelvin, and asked for it to be below 4,500 degrees Kelvin. When the first lot of LEDs were installed, particularly overseas, they used very blue and cold colour temperature, which is a high 5,500 to 6,000 degrees Kelvin. So we've settled on 4,000. That's what we've been installing recently. The dark skies initially said keep below 4.5, which we've done. They then supported the use of 4,000K. They've now moved to 3,000K, and they want to move lower. So it's going to much more warmer, yellowy coloured light, particularly in areas of around Tekapo and things like that, where there's there's a national dark skies area that's been heritage area. So the issue of between the different colours is that the eye is more perceptive to the cooler coloured light. So you see better in very low levels of light, which is what we've got in street lighting, with a higher colour temperature. So the 3,000K are not as efficient, and you don't see quite as well. So that would lose some of the savings that we would be getting to move to that. Most of this, we've now got about 5,000 LEDs on the network, and there's we haven't really had any negative feedback, or I haven't received that. There's a couple where we put in and the lights were, we had to move one because it was lighting up someone's bedroom too much. It was the end of a street, and the light was too close to the end of the street, but we went back and supported that. But it's there's a lot of commentary internationally. There's a lot of research. Not all the research relates, because a lot of it relates to interior lighting and the much higher levels inside and things like that. The other thing is that with the control system, we are looking to try and reduce the levels of light sort of midnight to the early hours, which will save energy, but also reduce the impact on the night sky as well. So in the past we could only put in the lighting at one level, so we lit it to what we needed at the peak times. So now we have the ability to modify that.
And just the final question from me was in regards to, I mean, it's great that we've got the electricity savings, but actually being able to have things like solar powered or, lighting that it can generate by itself rather than having to connect. Has any thought been given to trialling or looking at, I don't know if there's newer technology around solar or batteries?
Yes, we've looked at solar. We looked at it as part of the major cycleways where they go through parks. The technology is sort of, will cost, when we're running new cables through a park, it was sort of, they're all more expensive than running a cable and putting it on the system. Part of it is because the way the solar companies package the deal, they package the solar panels and the lights, and the lights they use aren't as efficient as the ones that we use on the powered system. They're not as effective at distributing the light. So they end up with using twice as many poles, which means more infrastructure and things like that. So even if they use the right light, it would be roughly equivalent to what we're currently using. So when we're out in the street, we've got overhead wires, we're putting the lights on those poles, we've got a wire right there. Obviously it's much more economic. The other thing with solar is you have batteries you've got to maintain. They have some hazardous materials in those that we have to dispose of. So we'd have to go back more regularly to replace batteries and maintain those. But the technology's improving, and yeah, we're looking at it. And but at this stage, it's we're replacing ones that are already connected to the power system. So for new stuff, it's obviously may have some benefits.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, mine's just around just a handful of streets across the city which have heritage trees in them, and like Severn Street in St Albans would be one that springs to mind. And so for the last 30 odd years, we've butchered the trees every couple of years to protect the power lines. Will we, during this process, potentially look to just underground that handful of streets rather than just connect? Because if we connect the lights and leave them, that means we're still going to keep wrecking the trees. And it's only a handful of streets, but if that could be a consideration somehow.
We don't.
I know trees aren't that valuable, but
It's not part of this scope.
Right.
And it's a bigger impact because the cost of undergrounding is all OPEX related costs. So the impact of undergrounding, and it's extremely expensive. So it hasn't been considered.
But that's a different project than what we're talking about here anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that I thought while you're doing one, that's a consideration.
You're going up a pole to replace a light fitting.
Yeah.
When you're doing this job, not looking at taking all of the lines and putting them on the ground, putting new poles in and putting light fittings up.
Probably have to take the trees out.
Yeah, so it's a valid question, but not as regards this particular project. Are there any further questions? Jimmy?
One question regarding to the paragraph 4 of the staff in the committee, the recommendation here. I just want to know actually how many numbers of LET will be converted? How many?
How many to?
Yeah.
We're looking at completing 34,000 replacements. Yeah. So at the moment we've got 7,000 on the table. And we've already got about 5 or 4.5 to 5 installed. So totally there's about 40,000 lights. So at this stage we're focusing on the ones that attract subsidy from NZTA, because we get that, and then it would roll out to the rest of them. So there's 38,000 lights, about 4,000 are converted. That's when we did the business case. Another 4,000 installed by December. 4,000 installed by December. Another 3,000 have been. 4,000 installed by June.
Yeah.
3,000 have been installed by December, which leaves about 27,000 to be as part of the LTP. But the money at this stage doesn't give we haven't included the cost for the install of the 3,000. That would come as part of the LTP.
Yes. So that's why my concern, because you have a 27,000 will be converted. So each year is around 9,000. But at the moment, first 2 years, you just 4,000 and also the other 3,000. So why you can make it or not, make it happen?
We're installing 4,000 between now, if we get the go-ahead, between now and June, which is sort of just over a 6-month period. So the way the program is developed is that we already have a maintenance contract that goes around, replaces lamps and cleans lights, and that's on a 3 or 4 yearly cycle. So instead of them cleaning the lights, they will take the light off and put a new one on. So we're using that existing resource. They already visit about 10,000 lights per year cleaning that. They will have to add more resource to that, but that's the most cost-effective way. So we've discussed with our contractor, and they can add resource. They will build up to be able to fund to be able to achieve this. So it's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. So back to Aaron, and then Sarah, Pauline, Vicky.
No, I was just going to move it.
Oh, right. Okay. So Aaron, we'll come back to you for the question.
Yeah.
And then. Okay.
So yeah, I take it with the controlling of them, it's done in sectors and grids and stuff across the city. And my question around that would be if it is that when there's particular events, if it's dimming at midnight through till daybreak to save power and let people sleep more, that in particular areas, if there's an event, that it can stay up for a different amount of time, or if police have an issue, like obviously set TED, that you can leave it ramped up, or even take it up if you have to for a particular occasion?
Each individual light can be controlled separately. So there's a device on each light, like an upside down coffee cup sitting on the top, and we have wireless connection to that. So that also gives us the ability to bring data back for smart city stuff as well. The controls and other additions to it are developing. Some places they're suggesting if there's a problem, the lights can flash or whatever. So at this stage, we're just trying to step into it at a low level, but there's a lot of potential to use it for other things. And
can you ramp them up above the normal rate that comes out? Do they go brighter when you need to, like if there's a mowing crew on a particular road at night?
That's it's debatable. It's at the moment we set to 100%. We can. The lights come in various wattages. Before we used to get the big chunk gaps between the outputs of the lamps. Now we can get them all little bits. So, and that's an adjustment within the control gear within there. What we're looking at doing is buying them all the 1 wattage, and then we would reset what the 100% is for that light, and then we have some capacity. So in the central city, we've allowed to actually reduce the lights. We've got the lights operating, but we still haven't got it running through the system because we haven't got it fully commissioned. But there is the potential that we possibly can increase beyond the 100%, but that effectively puts at risk the warranty of the luminaires and things like that. So for short term, probably okay, but it's not quite there yet.
Thank you. Vicky, did you have a question? Okay, so Pauline and Sarah have beaten you to it. So moved by Pauline, seconded by Sarah. Is there any debate? Vicky, Yanni.
I just want to say congratulations to the staff for bringing this to us so quickly. I think it's a stunning move. I think it's one of the most interesting things on the agenda today. I think it has huge impacts for the city. The change from NZTA from the subsidy rate of 49 to 85 is really sensible move from NZTA. Not a sentence I say that often actually, but I'm delighted to see it. In terms of the council, the 8.5% reduction of the council's carbon emissions is dramatic and brilliant. 17% reduction in our electricity charges when it's fully implemented, $1 million a year, and less hazardous waste, as well as better lighting. All strike me as just being incredibly sensible, and the fact that you've just gone ahead and done the report and brought it to the committee and want to get on with it is fantastic. I think it's a really good move.
Yanni.
Yeah, I'm really supportive of this as well. You'll recall when we did our electricity contract that I did raise the significant amount of money we're spending on electricity, and obviously this subsidy and the work to get to this point wasn't available then, but I think this is a really positive thing for the city, particularly around cost savings, and I just think it's great to have it come to the council, but I would just ask if we can think about maybe a presentation to each community board just going through, because this will be a change for some areas of the city, and it would just, I think it's great. There's a lot of detail and information behind it as it gets rolled out, but it'd be great just to get those community boards aware of what we're doing. And I think, obviously the technology will evolve, but the idea that we can have, as Councillor Keown has raised, is we can have different uses in terms of different times of day or different environments depending on what's going on in an area, I think is a real positive. So, I think this is a really good thing. I'm really glad that we're trying to get that NZTA subsidy. I was a bit concerned when I saw Auckland and Wellington getting it ahead of us, but I think, hopefully we can get the benefits of the lessons that they're learning, and we can get this happening. So, yeah, it's a really positive thing. I just think we need to just think a bit of a strategy around how we roll it out, making sure that people are aware of what we're doing and that local communication. But very supportive of it, really glad to see it happening.
Dion.
I'm really supportive of this as well. One of the big things that I was worried about was the health impacts on LED lights and the wavelength, obviously with 4,000 to 5,000 Kelvin, but obviously being with a central management system, I think that's really good. So we can actually sort of mitigate some of those risks, and if there's sort of, issues, we can obviously tweak it over time to actually sort of benefit the communities if there are some issues. So I think I'm really supportive of this, especially with the power savings. It's quite incredible.
Great. Yeah, I'm also hugely supportive of this. I mean, it allows us to take advantage of the increased NZTA subsidy. It brings about all sorts of additional benefits, additional features, such as the fact that the lighting can be dimmed, it's capable of being managed, significant cost savings. The cost savings noted in the report, 600,000 on maintenance and $1 million on electricity. That's significant in anyone's language. And of course the environmental benefits as well that have been mentioned. The decision for this financial year with a 102% subsidy is a no-brainer. And obviously we're signalling an intention to complete the conversion to LED by 30th June 2021, appreciating that that will require some decision making through the LTP, and we'll certainly look forward to considering that at that time. Having said that, 7,000 out of a total of 34,000 that we're approving today is a significant step towards replacement across the whole network and starting to really achieve those savings. Yeah, I think this has got huge benefit, and the decision we're making today is a no-brainer, and clearly we're signalling that we'll look positively at the further funding through the LTP. Finally, I agree with the issues that Yanni has raised just around communication. Obviously, there are changes to the environment that people are moving around in, which need to be explained. I think the community board's been aware of that, allows them to be advocates, particularly if they're aware of the savings and the benefits involved in this, as well as the change. And the more that's able to be communicated to the wider community, so that people understand what's going on in their neighbourhoods and environments, the better. So I'm sure there'll be a engagement planned, but really just picking up that message out of this meeting as well, that the more we can present this positively, the more advocates we'll have out there in the community that support what we're doing, because they understand all the facets of the project. So this has been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? That's carried. Thank you.